But how many of us actually think about what that's like? Like what heaven is like,
Yeah.
what we're working towards, what our life, you know, we say this life is, but a blink of an eye kind of, right? So,
Yeah.
and that's eternity. But I couldn't even, I can't even think, I don't think I've really sat down and like thought about like what it's like. And I think sometimes people don't do that because they're scared of an answer they might not like, like, I like we'll talk about it sometimes in church settings and like, oh, it's worshiping God all day, and then everyone's like thinking, oh my God, that sounds really boring.
Yeah.
I can't. What? It's like a never-ending liturgy. Oh no. Um, so I- isn't that like a part of the huge part of the problem? Like we can't even really grasp what this like place of bliss that we're aiming to go to is. So how can we be motivated to live our lives to get there? You know?
Excellent point. Yeah, I mean, I know we talk in general about how society has kind of become more atheist and agnostic. I was listening to like some Indian guru on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he said something very important regarding heaven. And he said we have deleted the concept of heaven from society as well too. You
Mm.
know, and I thought that was very interesting. And I'm not sure what religion he was, but generally speaking, regardless of your faith, and even if you're like atheist, agnostic, there is this general sometimes view of a good place or a blissful place, however you want to view it. Maybe not the atheists believe that, but
Mhm.
most religions. And he said something very important that he correlated with the struggle of society right now, and is that it's not only that we deleted or pushed God out, but even the concept of heaven, like you mentioned, has been kind of erased, and I think that affects people and their motivation because, okay, let's say you don't even believe in God. I think some people in general, growing up, society has this general idea of heaven, good place, glorious, hell not. But now that we've removed this kind of final destination
Yeah.
idea, of course we're going to be all the more apathetic and amotivated. Like, what is our goal if we don't even believe in an eternity that we're spending with, for us as Orthodox Christians, with Christ and his saints and being united to God? you know what's to motivate you? Of course your 9 to 5 is going to be like horrific. Of course you're going to be
Yeah.
miserable when you get into confrontations with your significant other or your kids make you mad. And that's why I think, picking back to what we're talking about, those glue conversations are necessary, or at least
Mhm.
meditating on it, because really puts things into perspective. But you're right, we don't often think about the hereafter and the afterlife.
Yeah.
um
And when it is portrayed on television now, it's almost such a joke. It's like satire.
yeah.
There is actually a show, I think it's called The Good Place. It's apparently a really popular like sitcom or something about people who go to some afterlife based on scores of how good of a person they were, and there's like a mistake, and one lady ends up in the good place, right, heaven,
Yeah.
who shouldn't be there, and her presence is like causing all these issues. But but their imagination of what the good place is like, it's like food randomly appearing when you want it, or like
Right.
it's like it's like the world, but like it's like a utopia, right? It's not,
Right.
they can't even conceive of like what the real heaven is like, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
So
think even for us, it's hard to put into words. Like if you had to put into words, what could you say besides feeling kind of words, right?
yeah, I mean that's what St. Paul said, right? No eye has seen nor ear heard what God has prepared for those who love him. It's indescribable. I mean, we can look at prophecies of the Old Testament, the divine, what Isaiah saw in the temple. We can look at Book of Revelation, but ultimately, no words or feelings can describe that.
Yeah. And we know of saints who, and this would be rare for a regular person to want, but they're like hoping to die, You've
Yeah.
heard of those saints. They're like,
Yeah.
take me, Lord," you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they have that connection. Because 'cause we're taught that, like, heaven and the kingdom is in your heart too, right? It's like it's here
Yeah.
on earth, right? We don't have to wait till, like,
Yeah.
we die, right? So they've already felt it here on earth,
Mm.
and they wanna just experience it for eternity.
Yeah, there's a story about that. Just a quick piggyback off of that. There's a story that there's an Eastern Orthodox metropolitan or bishop, Metropolitan George Cheder, and I think he's Antiochian, and he went to Egypt to Omena Irene's monastery, I think Abu Sifan monastery, and he saw the nuns there and Omena Irene talking casually how, oh, Saint Philopatir was just here last week, or Saint John the Baptist came by and he's praying for. And the person that relayed the story told me that the Metropolitan, the Antiochian, just started bawling, crying.
Wow.
And they asked him, they're like, say it. I mean, this is a bishop crying. And what he's, nuns and monks are saying, oh, Saint Mina came the other day. Like, he started crying and he said, there's no differentiation with you people between heaven and earth.
Mm,
And to him that was so surprising, the level of spirituality, the level of asceticism, that humans are interacting with the spiritual and the divine in a manner like we're talking right now.
yeah.
And to those people, of course they're happy to go to heaven. They're living heaven.
Mhm.
I mean, that's why Christ said the kingdom of heaven is inside you. We have the ability to do that. I mean, albeit we're not all blessed to see visions and so forth, like the great spiritual and ascetic ones, but there's nothing to stop us from becoming saintly and living heaven on earth right now. So that's a story that I love. How he was just crying, like, you guys are living in heaven here. There's no divide. There's no barrier between you all, and that's part of the reason why Christ came to rip this enmity between us, and as we say, to make the two into one. So.